Hi kids, it's teacher Isabel again. For quarter 2, English 3, Melt Base, week 2. Today, we will talk about simple tenses of verbs. In this lesson, you are expected to use simple verbs, past, present, and future in sentences. Let's go! Before we go on to our main topic, first, let's warm up. Let us examine the pictures. Describe the things that the characters do in each picture. In the first picture, we can say that the children play ball. Next picture, the boy and the girl write their lesson. In the third picture, Muslim kids kneel down to pray. And the last picture, they water the plants. Now, let us discuss about simple tenses of verbs. A verb tells an action and or a state of being. It describes an action that happened in the past, is happening at present, and will happen in the future. So, what are the verb tenses? The three simple tenses of verbs are simple past, simple present, and simple future. Take a look at this table and study how verbs are formed. As you can see, the table shows the base form of the verb, the simple past tense, simple present tense, and simple future tense. For most verbs, we add ed to the base form of the verb to form its simple past tense. Simple present take the base form. And for the simple future tense, we just add will to the base form of the verb. There are verbs that change its spelling when we form the simple past. And there are also verbs that remains the same for the simple past and simple present tense. We will further discuss this later on for you to be able to understand it clearly. Simple present means happening now. It is used to describe a habitual action or general truth. Examples: the children go to school every day. Mrs. Cruz works in the school canteen. The sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Depending on the subject in the sentence, we either add s or es or just keep the verb as is. In forming or using the simple present tense of the verb, there are things that we should remember. Use the s form of the verb if the subject is singular. Trina reviews her lesson every night. He drives to work. My father goes to gym once a week. For all these examples, we added s or es to the verb because the subject in the sentence is singular. For most verbs, add s. But for those verbs ending in s, z, ch, or x, add es. And there's also an exemption like in goes. It ends in o, we also add es. Use the simple form of the verb if the subject is plural or more than one. Faith and Flint buy flowers for mother. We drink milk every morning. The students wear their uniform. For the verbs, we did not add s or es. We let them as is because the subject in the sentences are plural. Use the simple form of the verb with the pronoun I and you. Examples: I visit my cousins in the province every summer. You run to the party. If the subject is singular and the verb ends in y and y follows a consonant, change y to I and add es. Alden studies his lessons well. The baby cries loudly. Both verbs end in y. The verb study has letter D before the letter Y, which is a consonant. The verb cry also has letter R before letter Y, which is also a consonant. And since Y is preceded by a consonant, we change Y to I and add ES. But when a verb ends in Y and there is a vowel A, E, I, O, or U before it, we simply add the letter S to the verb, like in the following examples. He stays with his mother. She buys potato rings. The Y in the verb stay and buy is not changed because it is preceded by a vowel. Simple past means already happened. It is used to describe an action or condition that took place at a specific point in the past. Yesterday, I washed my car. I graduated from the university last year. Last week, I visited my friends. Last year, I broke my arm. I studied Korean 10 years ago. All of these things happened in the past. But these sentences also all have one thing in common. They use verbs in the simple past tense. How to form simple past tense? For most verbs, the method to form the simple past tense is relatively simple. Typically, you would form the past tense as follows. Take the root form of the verb and add ed to the end. For examples, look becomes looked. Climb, climbed. Water, watered. If the verbs end in E, you would just add a D. Examples, like, liked. Dance, danced. Bake, baked. For verbs that end in Y, the Y usually changes to an I if it follows a consonant. Examples, cry, become, cried. Carry, carried. Try, tried. Marry, married. But if the verb that end in Y is preceded by a vowel, add ed. Example, play, played. Stay, stayed. Pray, prayed. Regular and irregular verbs have different ways in forming their past tense. The simple past tense gets a lot trickier when we run into irregular verbs. There are many irregular verbs that don't follow the typical rules of simple past tense. Unfortunately, there is no general rule for how to form the simple past tense in irregular verbs. You will simply need to learn these verb forms, though there are some patterns, or use a dictionary to figure out what the simple past tense is. The spelling of some irregular verbs does not change. Like in cut, cut. Hurt, hurt. Put, put. Hit, hit. The spelling of the verb read does not change, but its pronunciation changes from long E to short E. For the present tense, it's read, but for the past tense, it's read as read. Some irregular verbs change their spelling. Here are just a few examples of the simple past tense of some irregular verbs. Leave, left. Take, took. Make, made. Eat, ate. Bring, brought. Go, went. Sing, sung. Write, wrote. Stand, stood. The simple past tense of the verb remains the same regardless if the subject is singular or plural or what person. Simple future means will happen. It is used to express an action or condition that will or will not happen or exist in the future. To form the future tense of a verb, use will plus the base form of the verb. Examples, will attend. Will watch. They will attend the club meeting tomorrow. My father will watch my performance tonight. For these examples, it showed that it will happen in the future. Let's proceed to our activity. Let's try. Learning task 1. Complete each sentence by underlining the correct form of the verb in the parentheses. Number 1. Anthony planted fruit-bearing trees in his farm yesterday. What is the correct answer? There is a time expression yesterday. The correct answer is planted. Number 2. Mila will brings her pet dog to the veterinarian next week. The subject is Mila, singular, but there is also a time expression next week. So what is the correct answer? It will bring. The action will happen in the future. Next, my friends will watch a movie this weekend. The action will happen this weekend. So what is the correct answer? It will watch. Number 4. I visit my grandparents every weekend. The action is repeatedly done. So what should be the correct answer? The subject is I. The correct answer is visit. Last, number 5. Eunice will sing a song during my cousin's wedding next month. The subject is Eunice, but there is also a time expression next month, meaning the action will happen in the future. The correct answer is will sing. Very good. Let's move to another activity. Let's practice. Learning task 2. Complete each sentence by writing the correct form of the verb in the parentheses. I'm giving you some time to answer this. You may start now. Okay, let's answer. Number 1. Cardo blank part in an online quiz show and won the grand prize. What is the correct form of the verb that we should write on the blank? The subject is Cardo. It takes. Number 2. The team rescued the boy who blanked into the river. What is the correct form of the verb? The answer is fell. Number 3. Last year, Jasmine blanked first prize in the 1,000-meter race. There is a time expression, last year. So you can easily identify the correct form of the verb to be written on the blank. The answer is won. It's past tense. Number 4. I blank songs during my free time. It says during my free time. The subject is I. So what should be the correct form of the verb? The answer is right. Next, the last one. The children blanked their favorite toys during the toy fair next month. The time expression is next month. So what should be the correct form of the verb? Will present, because the action will happen in the future. So far, we learned that we have three simple verb tenses. Simple past tense already happened. Simple present tense means happening now. And simple future tense means will happen. Now, let's apply what you have learned. In your answer sheet, tell us what you did yesterday, what you do today, and what you will do tomorrow. Don't forget what you have learned. Remember, be smarter.